Like I said, good to be aware of all these horrible things, but do not let that derail you from going to these places. Please don't let that make you cancel your trip or postpone it. You will regret it. Hello and welcome back to my channel. I am Catherine and welcome back. If you have not already, please go ahead and subscribe and like this video. I would really appreciate it. And let's jump into what we are addressing today. As you know, normally on this channel, I'm in my classroom talking about teaching online stuff, but I thought I'd spice it up with this couch in the background because I'm filming a video all about travel anxiety. So I thought it'd give you a different view. And if you're like, Catherine, why are you not sitting on the couch? Well, it's not as aesthetically pleasing as this is. So that's why I'm on the floor. I always wonder those things when I see other YouTubers do it. Now I get it. And it's just easier for my camera and all these other things. Anyway, moving on. What is travel anxiety? Do you have it? Do you suffer from it? Because I definitely do sometimes. Now, I have defined travel anxiety as right before your trip, right before you're about to leave, you think of all the horrible things about said country that you're going to. And this has happened to me pretty much every country I've been to. Except Ireland. I don't think I had a care in the world about Ireland. What bad things happen in Ireland? The potato famine in like the 1800s? Ireland's a great place. I love Ireland. I also don't think they've had like a gun shooting since like the 80s or something like that. It's a very safe country. Anyway, besides Ireland, literally any other place that I've been to, I always suffer travel anxiety like a day or two before it sets in. For example, going to Mexico. You know what I thought of the day before? The cartel. You know what else I thought of? All those news stories about the random beers. There was like a whole thing a couple years ago and like people at resorts were randomly dying and no one could figure out why, and it was something about the drinks that they were drinking, or just random people dying on the beach because of the cartel. All of these horrible stories were popping up and I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And then to add to that, because at the time of this recording, when I went to Mexico, there was a pandemic. Oh. Well, let the grandfather clock do its thing, okay? Mr. Grandfather Clock is done telling me that it's 3 p.m. But anyway, as I was saying, at the time of this recording, we are in a global pandemic. I went to Mexico in December 2020, so on top of all this, I was like, oh my god, what if I get COVID and die in Mexico? So where did this travel anxiety come from and how do I get over it? That's what I'm gonna tell you in this video. Where does it come from? The media. 100%, a lot of it comes from the media. Now, Bo Knights, aka my travel bestie, you see him in pretty much all my travel videos. He made a really awesome video. Definitely check it out. It's on his channel. I have it linked in my description. The video is called 3 Ways That the Media is Destroying Travel, and he sums it up beautifully. So if you want to know why media is destroying travel in less words than I'm about to say, definitely check out his video. He makes great stuff too, so subscribe as well while you're there. It also inspired this video, so thanks, Bo. The media blows up everything. The media blows up every story, and typically all these articles are negative. Personally, like to stay very far away from it. I deleted Facebook off my phone. I delete Instagram pretty much every 2 weeks, honestly. But I try to stay away from just media stuff because it's all so blown up, and you kind of, at this point, to me, it's made me very skeptical of every news story ever, because I'm like, you can take one picture or one video and totally take it out of context, or you know, just find this one bad thing that happened and, you know, ruin a whole area for other people. So any news story that I hear, I am very skeptical about it. I'm like, what is the evidence? I need to see this evidence. Like, I become Judge Judy real quick, okay? But I still have these thoughts right before I get on a plane. After 27 years of life, you hear a lot of these stories and you kind of absorb a lot of these stories, and you remember the bad things that happen, because the bad things that happen stand out much more than the good things, right? I mean, that pretty much goes for everything. Plus, the media typically makes negative stories because that's what gets the most attention, right? And they want that. They want more views on their stuff. They want more people tuning into what they have to say. They want people to be invested in whatever they're talking about because that typically means more views, more money, more everything else for them. So, you know, that's why it's negative, because you're more likely to click on a negative video, you know, just to be in the loop, just to be aware of things, rather than a positive video, like, you know, a basket of puppies just got rescued from a drought or something. I don't know. A drought or river. I don't know. That was a bad example, but you know what I'm saying. Now, the media has done this to a lot of things, but we're just gonna focus on the travel aspect for right now, okay? Okay. Every time I get an opportunity to go somewhere, besides me, you know, freaking out, thinking of all the bad things and researching and, you know, doing my part, making sure that wherever I'm trying to go is safe and beautiful and wonderful and a place that I actually wanna go, besides me thinking all these things, when you tell your friends and family that you wanna go to this place, that you already booked a trip, that you're going to the Philippines, for example, well, because they love you so much, and they care for you and they want you to stay alive as long as possible, they worry and then they send you all these horrible articles and terrible things that happen, and you're like, I already know, okay? I know, all right? But that's probably my least favorite thing about traveling is just all your friends and family sending you every horrible article or horrible video or horrible story that has ever happened in that country to you, and you're just like, there's good things too. Like, I really feel like unless you're saying you're going to Canada or Japan or Europe or, you know, somewhere that's pretty romanticized, people have a lot of negative things to say about anywhere else you want to go. So that was my spiel on that. I could go on, but we're gonna move on a little bit, right? So let me tell you how I battle this travel anxiety. How do I get over it? How do I say, you know what, screw you, and what you have to say, I'm getting on that plane anyway and I'm going to this place. The first thing that I do when I'm having these thoughts, or mainly if my friends or family are sending me these terrible articles or telling me these terrible stories, is, has this person ever been to this country? Have they personally been to the Philippines? Have they personally been to Mexico? And no, they haven't. Unless that person has actually been to the country you've gone to, don't take advice from them, because they really don't know. And to add to that, which I saw this in another travel video, before I went to the Philippines, actually, because again, the nerves. And they said, do the people giving you this advice even have a passport? And I was like, no, they don't. In fact, the people giving me this advice have only been on like 2 planes their entire life. You can't give me advice, okay? You can't give me advice on the Philippines, I'm sorry. I know you're worried, I know you love me, but your advice is not valid. Thank you. Those 2 questions really dissolve a lot of my fears about travel anxiety. Bo brings this up in his video that I just mentioned, so again, definitely go watch. But he says to ask the people who've actually been in these countries. Now, if you don't know anyone personally, you can obviously reach out to other creators, other people that you see on YouTube. If they're smaller, there's a really high chance that they will, you know, comment back. For example, if you leave a comment on this video at the time of this recording, I have like 2,000 subscribers at the moment, so I'll probably get back to you. Take advice from people who've actually been in those countries. Before I went to the Philippines, of course I was going with Bo, who'd been in the Philippines like 5 times at that point, but besides him, my mom freaked out, of course, because she's a mom, and she messaged all her friends on Facebook, asked them who's been to the Philippines, what are their takes, and she actually had quite a few friends who've lived in the Philippines or at least visited, and they had nothing but beautiful, wonderful things to say about it. Mind you, if you're wondering, what horrible story did your mom tell you about the Philippines before you went? Well, let me tell you. My mom, you know, she was being a mom, she loves me, you know, she worries, she cares, I know. She told me, she said, now Catherine, you know, some people in Asia, like if you do something bad, you get sent into prison. Like this one guy tore this poster off a wall and they threw him in prison for like 10 years. And I was like, was that in the Philippines? She said, no. And I was like, where was it? She goes, North Korea, but like, still Catherine. And I was like, okay. North Korea's its own thing, all right? It's not the Philippines. Case dismissed. But all her friends made her feel better, saying, you know, I love the Philippines. It's a great place to travel to. Catherine should go here, here, and here. It was actually super helpful. I was really happy that she did that because it gave me more peace of mind and it gave me some fun destinations to go to. So, worked out for everyone in the end. Another thing that calms down my travel anxiety is, I actually got this from Nomadic Matt's book, 10 Years a Nomad, great book. You should definitely read if you're wanting to become a nomad. But in his book, he says, he has this whole chapter about fear and, you know, going to all these places, pretty much addressing everything that I'm addressing right now. And he says, pretty much all these places have already been traveled to. Pretty much everywhere in the world that you want to go, backpackers have already been to. People have already made the path, okay? You can easily look up YouTube videos, you can easily find bloggers that have pretty much laid out a perfect travel map for you, okay? You're not alone. You're not rediscovering new lands for the first time. These roads have already been traveled. They lived, you'll be fine. Was pretty much what he was trying to say. And I was like, yes, Very true. Which leads me to my next point. Since all these places have most likely already been traveled by, people have already gone, people have already made YouTube videos about it or blog posts about it or books about it, do your research, okay? Definitely look into all these things. Definitely research the places that you want to go. Make a little itinerary, a loose itinerary. Because Bo and I did no research before we went to Mexico, and neither of us knew anything about Mexico. It worked out in the end, it was fine, but I kind of wish we did more research before we went, just so we wouldn't like backtrack so much and stuff like that. But you know, reading other people's experience and stories and doing your own research does make you feel better. But again, remember, when you're doing your research, you're definitely going to come across those negative videos, those anxiety-inducing videos, all those terrible death, crazy story videos, and just remember, be skeptical. Most of these stories are very rare occurrences or just not true. Don't let those derail your plans when you do come across those. Again, be skeptical, okay? Listen to the people who've actually been there, because I'd be surprised if some of these news reporters have actually been in these countries. I'm just saying. Like I said, do these people even have a passport? Have they even been on a plane? These are the questions we ask now. And of course, you can always bring a travel buddy. Bo is my travel buddy pretty much. Of course, there are a lot of solo travelers. I've never solo traveled. That is something I want to do one day, whenever the world opens up again and I can, you know, figure it out then. It is something I want to do, but what does always make me feel better about these trips is that I'm not alone. I always have Bo or, you know, someone that I'm going with, so it's kind of like, you know, I don't need to figure out everything right now. I have a buddy. Worst comes to worst, I can rely on my friend no matter where I am. So if solo traveling scares you, there are tons and tons and tons of men and women who have solo traveled, who have tons of great tips, and everything's turned out great for them. But you know, especially when you're just starting or you're gonna live somewhere for a long time, it doesn't hurt to have a buddy, okay? I much appreciate Bo being there. So yeah, just a tip. And if this makes you feel better, which I hope it does, everywhere that I've been, every place that I've had travel anxiety about, for example, even to France, I had a little travel anxiety about France. France, Mexico, the Philippines, as soon as I got there, as soon as I started talking to the people, it all went away. You realize that most people are really good, most people are very nice, that they really aren't that different from, you know, your typical hometown. There are more good people than horrible people in this world, so please remember that. And I always look back to 48 hours prior to where I was freaking out about, you know, XYZ, when there was really nothing to freak out about in the first place. Once you're there, once you're settled, once you finally, you know, gotten to your first hotel, hostel, Airbnb, whatever, and sat down, you're like, you know what, it's not so bad here. It's really, everyone's very nice. So just keep that in mind. I hope that all these tips have helped you. Just remember to be safe, use your own judgment, use your own intuition. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine. You know, use the tips that I've said earlier. You know, don't be stupid, don't get blackout drunk. That's mostly where some of these news stories come from. It's just, you know, someone was blackout drunk and did a bunch of stupid stuff, or, you know, they took all these drugs and, you know. So just be smart, all right? Be smart. You know, operate how you typically would where you live. And of course, it's always good to be aware of the bad things that happen. It's good to be aware of the culture there, or, you know, for example, Mexico, it's good to be aware that there are cartel, or in the Philippines, it's good to be aware of Mindanao. That's a not so safe area. It's very good to be aware of those places. That's why it's good to research. It's, like I said, good to be aware of all these horrible things, but do not let that derail you from going to these places. Please don't let that make you cancel your trip or postpone it. You will regret it. Just, like I said, do your research, find the places you want to go, find the safe places. Of course, use your own judgment, your own intuition, and you will be fine. I promise, okay? I promise, you'll be okay. I love you. You're doing great.
Kim, you're doing amazing, sweetie.
So I hope these tips help you. If you have any other tips to battle travel anxiety, please leave them down below, because your girl's always looking for some hot fire tips, okay? And thanks for being here. I truly appreciate it. Please don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, also tell me your place that you want to go next, because I want to know that too. Okay, thank you for being here, and I'll see you in my next video. Okay, bye. And just remember to be safe, use your own judgment. Always interrupting me.